Sorry, today is our anniversary, but I'm not going to make it because of work. Please cancel the restaurant reservation. See you. Wait, just. Before I could stop him, the call ended. Today marks our 20th anniversary. I had reserved our special memory-filled restaurant, but Jacob just bailed with a single phone call. Feeling this disrespected really hurts. So Jacob prefers his mistress over me, huh? Fine. I've got my own plans. I already knew who Jacob's mistress was. Immediately, I called certain people. Can you come over right now? Now to make this the best anniversary for myself. I'm Mia Smith. I turned 45 this year and am a stay-at-home mom. I live with my husband Jacob and our middle school-aged son. I met Jacob over 25 years ago when we were in the same social work class in college. The moment I first saw Jacob, it was love at first sight. Jacob, a young man of his time, was quite handsome. He was the life of the class, always chatting happily with both guys and girls. I recall he often got confessions from girls. I was just one of those girls who watched from a distance back then. I dressed plainly compared to the girls around Jacob. I definitely didn't stand out. I had a crush on him, but never dared to initiate a conversation. Jacob and I got close during a practical training event. Our department had an internship at a nursing home for a week. The class was split among various facilities due to staffing shortages. Jacob and I ended up at the same facility. When our instructor announced the assignments, I was quite envied by the other girls. I was secretly thrilled to be with Jacob. We went to the site independently, with instructors visiting periodically. Thus, it was mostly student-run. Jacob asked for my contact details, and we went to the nursing home together. Our main task was to be companions to the elderly residents, assisting with meals and bathroom trips. After each day's training, Jacob and I would head to a nearby diner for dinner. It ended at 5 p.m., which was perfect for dinner. We both liked the diner menu, another reason to go together. While dining, we discovered a shared love for a particular singer that sparked many great conversations. Even after the training week, our relationship continued. We started meeting up after classes, occasionally going to karaoke together. Of course, our song choices were always by our favorite singer. There was never a dull moment between us. Eventually, we started dating, and then, after graduating from college, we embarked on different career paths. Jacob chose a career in caregiving, while I took an office job at a company dealing with caregiving products. Our relationship continued, and exactly on our 5th anniversary of dating, we got married. Jacob proposed, of course. When he proposed, Jacob said, "My job involves night shifts and an irregular schedule. I don't want us to miss out on each other's lives, so would you quit your job and become a full-time homemaker?" My office job was a typical 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. Days off were Saturday, Sunday, and holidays. Jacob, on the other hand, had a more erratic schedule, often having weekdays off. It was hard to match our schedules for dates until we got married. I wanted more time with Jacob, so I decided to quit and become a full-time homemaker. After some time being married, our son Michael was born. Jacob was overjoyed when Michael was born. "Mia, thank you so much. I'm so happy we have a boy," he said with tears of joy. Seeing Jacob like that filled me with warmth. We would become even happier, I believed. But 20 years into our marriage, things with Jacob changed. The sweet air from the beginning of our marriage was gone. Maybe it was because we were financially stretched. Jacob's caregiving job didn't pay much, and with Michael preparing for high school, expenses were high. So I was always trying to save. I'd hop from store to store for cheaper groceries and packed lunches daily for Jacob and Michael. There was no room for my own fashion. I dressed even plainer than in college. The only makeup I had was a lipstick. In this state, I felt invisible to Jacob. Worse, he sometimes looked at me with puzzlement. Perhaps he thought I had let myself go. Every time I realized this, I felt emptier. Today, Jacob was on a day shift, so he was home in the evening. He lounged on the living room sofa, mindlessly watching TV. I tried talking to him. "Jacob, the bath's ready. Why don't you go first? I'll have dinner ready by then." But he didn't respond. Instead, he glared at me silently and headed straight to the bathroom. Michael, used to this, didn't even look at Jacob. After Jacob left the living room, I let out a quiet sigh. Jacob muttered to himself bitterly. "Ah, working every day and still no extra cash, all because of the freeloader at home. I'm really the unfortunate one, aren't I?" When Jacob said those words, the first time I heard him say that, I was shocked. It was Jacob who suggested I become a homemaker when he proposed. It's frustrating to hear him say this now. I understand where Jacob is coming from, though. Our son, Michael, is already in middle school. I have more free time now, so working could ease our financial burdens. I gave Jacob a positive response. "Michael's getting older, and I'll start working too. It's not fair for you to do all the work." However, it wasn't the answer Jacob wanted. He glared at me and yelled, "If you start working, won't the neighbors think I'm a deadbeat? Don't embarrass me." Angry, Jacob went back to his room. I was confused. Michael looked at me, slightly worried. I was stuck in a cycle of not being allowed to work yet criticized for not working. My spirit was gradually wearing down. Then one day Jacob came home in a better mood than usual. He smiled at me as he opened the front door. "I'm home. Bought some donuts. As a treat, eat whatever you like," he said, handing me a paper bag with donuts. "Thanks. I'll let Michael pick his favorite too," I replied, taking his backpack to check the contents. That's when I felt something was off. Jacob's used work clothes were inside, and I always wash them right away because stains can be hard to remove otherwise. But when I was about to do the usual laundry, a woman's handkerchief fell out of the pocket. Huh. I froze, but Jacob didn't notice. "Just like that," he cheerfully said. "I'm going to take a bath," and went off to the bathroom, humming a tune. This couldn't go on. I quickly went to my room and called someone. "Hello, Amelia. It's me, Mia. What's up?" Calling all of a sudden, fortunately, Amelia answered the phone right away. Amelia was a friend from college in the same class as Jacob and then me. She was cute and fashionable, quite popular in our class, much like Jacob initially. Amelia and I weren't very close at first, but we became friends after I started dating Jacob. "Amelia, you're dating Jacob, right? Let's hang out more." Amelia had approached me first. I was happy she wanted to be friends, and we've kept in touch occasionally since graduating. Amelia got married right after college, but I heard she divorced 6 months ago. About a month ago, Amelia called me. "Mia, guess what? I ran into Jacob at the nursing home where I started working." It turned out Amelia's new job was at the same facility where Jacob worked. Since then, she occasionally shared stories about Jacob's workplace, so I thought she might know something. I confided in Amelia about Jacob. I told her I found an unfamiliar woman's handkerchief. Could it be that Jacob is cheating? I asked her, my voice nearly breaking. Despite his harsh attitude, I still loved Jacob, so the thought of him cheating was painful. However, Amelia just laughed it off. "Maybe he just picked up someone's lost handkerchief and forgot to return it. You're just worrying too much, Mia. Really," I replied, sounding anxious. But Amelia laughed carefree. "Don't worry about Jacob. I'm keeping an eye on him for you," Amelia said, touched by her kindness. What a wonderful friend she was. Everything would be fine if Amelia was watching over Jacob. I believed so. But Jacob continued to come home late. He often used night shifts as an excuse, not returning some nights. Loving Jacob as I did, I couldn't help but feel down. Could he really be cheating? I wondered, spending my days filled with anxiety. Then, one day, something happened. "Mia, I'm home. Jacob returned in a great mood, seemingly having had some drinks. It was unusual for Jacob, who normally doesn't drink much, to come home having had a few drinks. I was puzzled, and in his jovial mood, Jacob said, "I worked up a sweat. Going to take a bath. Wait just a—" But he didn't notice my attempt to stop him and headed straight to the bathroom. No choice then. I sighed, picking up Jacob's backpack. As I looked inside, I noticed something. "Jacob, you left your smartphone in the backpack. He always had it with him, even in the bath. But here it was." I stared at the phone, and a notification for a new message popped up. What? No way. I froze upon seeing the sender. It was somewhat unbelievable. The content of the message on the screen was almost a confirmation of infidelity. My hands trembled as I held my phone. As I stood there, more messages kept coming, all from the same person. Unforgivable. I silently took photos of all the incoming message notifications. Then came our wedding anniversary. Every year we would dine at our special memory-filled restaurant. Michael was at his grandparents' house for the day. I had splurged and reserved an extraordinary course for the evening. The reservation was for 7:00 p.m. I had told Jacob the time in advance and was waiting for him at the restaurant entrance. 15 minutes before the reservation, I was already there waiting. Despite everything, that he would at least honor our anniversary, I believed so. But my faint hope was soon shattered. My phone rang. It was Jacob. "Jacob, what's up?" I thought he might be running late and hurriedly answered. But Jacob just laughed carelessly and dropped a bombshell. "Sorry, I know it's our anniversary, but I can't make it because of work. Cancel the restaurant reservation. Bye." Wait, just before I could stop him, the call ended. Today marked our 20th anniversary. Despite reserving our memory-filled restaurant, Jacob canceled with just a call. Moreover, he didn't seem to feel guilty at all. Being disrespected to this extent, I was extremely upset. I went into the restaurant, apologized, and canceled. It was a last-minute cancellation. I paid the full amount of the course as a cancellation fee. I was filled with regret, not just about the fee, but also for causing inconvenience to the restaurant. I'm sure they had prepared the course meal already. It's heartbreaking to have caused trouble for our memory-filled restaurant. I had a good idea of where Jacob might be. Recently, I saw a message notification where someone invited Jacob to a dinner at a luxury hotel. He chose his mistress over me. It seemed like a spur-of-the-moment dinner invitation, more expensive and exclusive than the restaurant I had booked. He must be at the luxury hotel having dinner with his mistress right now. Clenching my fists in frustration, I thought, Jacob chooses his mistress over me. Fine. I have my own plans. I already knew who Jacob's mistress was. It was time for action, to turn the tables on him. Unfazed, caring about Jacob, he's ruining our anniversary, completely cooled my feelings for him. I'm going to get my revenge. I emailed Jacob. Michael and I are going to have a Christmas party at my parents' place. We'll stay over and come back tomorrow evening. The luxury hotel was likely just for dinner. So if I said this, Jacob would probably bring his mistress home. Sure enough, Jacob replied soon after. "Sorry, have a nice time with Michael and your folks. I'll relax at home alone after work." Jacob seemed completely unsuspecting. He's so clueless, I thought, gripping my smartphone. Then I immediately called certain people. "Can you come over right now?" All I had to do was make this the best anniversary for myself. I smiled slightly. The intended people arrived within 30 minutes to an hour. They were Jacob's and Amelia's relatives, plus there was one special guest. "Mia, why did you suddenly call us over? And why are Amelia's mom and others here?" my mother-in-law asked, looking puzzled as she entered the house. Jacob and Amelia's mothers knew each other because our college had a PTA where parents got to know each other. It was a small college, and Jacob, Amelia, and I were all in the same class. There were many events like college festivals and presentations fostering interactions among parents. So my mom knew Amelia's mom, and I got her contact from my mom. It's surprising to be called over suddenly with all the relatives, Amelia's mom said with a wry smile. But she wasn't angry and had brought Amelia's father and grandparents along. Could you look at this? I swiftly showed the smartphone screen to Jacob and Amelia's relatives. It was the chat notifications on my smartphone that Amelia had sent to Jacob. The messages were like, "I have an invitation to a dinner at a luxury hotel. Let's go on a date, and it's your anniversary with Mia, right? You'll prioritize your lover, me, of course." What is this? My mother-in-law's expression turned pale, a complete shift from before. It was her own son, Jacob, caught in infidelity. She must be feeling anything but calm. Jacob's father and other relatives also seemed to harbor feelings of disgust. Since my in-laws always had a good relationship, this might be especially hard for them. Amelia's mother looked bewildered. Amelia, being the mistress, her face turned ashen looking, like she might collapse at any moment. If Amelia's father hadn't been there to support her, she might have fainted. Amelia's grandmother also wore a look of disbelief, as if she couldn't believe what she was seeing. Almost everyone was on the verge of panic, and I calmly informed them. Jacob and Amelia are having an affair. Today was our wedding anniversary, but Jacob canceled our plans to have dinner with Amelia at a luxury hotel instead. I thought Jacob and Mia were doing well, my mother-in-law said, shocked and on the verge of collapsing. My father-in-law's face turned red with anger towards Jacob. I felt a bit pleased. That they were angry on my behalf, seeming to take my side as the daughter-in-law, Amelia's parents, were too shocked to speak, perhaps not wanting to believe it. The other relatives seemed to feel the same, but exposing them here wasn't the end. I needed to make one final move to make this the best anniversary for myself. I quietly told Jacob and Amelia's relatives Jacob and Amelia should be returning soon. Can you all please wait here with me? Everyone nodded silently to my request. After a while, I'm home. Looks like nobody's here, though. Hello, coming in. Jacob and Amelia returned home looking very cheerful. Jacob seemed to be in a good mood, possibly from drinking. Amelia seemed happy to be at the house, also in high spirits. Welcome back. I greeted them quietly. Instantly, Jacob and Amelia panicked. What? Why are you here, Mia? Weren't you supposed to be at your parents' house today? Jacob said, clearly bewildered. You're lying. That's just wrong as a person. Jacob started to confront me. Then my mother-in-law burst out of the living room, standing between me and Jacob. Jacob, you're having an affair with Amelia, and you canceled your anniversary with Mia. Shame on you, she said, her face on the verge of tears. Her own son's disgraceful actions must have filled her with disappointment. Mom, why are you here? Jacob was visibly shaken by his mother's presence. Normally, my in-laws rarely came to this house because it wasn't very spacious, even though they lived close by. Usually, Jacob or I would visit their place if needed. As I was thinking this, Amelia's mother also appeared. That's right, Amelia. You're grown up and now Jacob's mistress. Just divorced and already this. Mom, why are you here? Amelia was bewildered, her face a picture of confusion. I got a call from Mia. Amelia, your previous divorce was because of your affair too, right? I'm utterly disappointed in you, Amelia's mother exclaimed hysterically. Jacob, learning this new fact, confronted Amelia. You weren't always single, and what's this about an affair? Amelia retorted, "It's just something from before we reunited." So what's the big deal? While Jacob and Amelia were arguing, other relatives gathered at the entrance, including Jacob's family and Amelia's grandparents. They all glared at Jacob and Amelia unanimously. The situation left both Jacob and Amelia rattled and confused. Why is Uncle here? It doesn't make any sense. Why are Grandma and Grandpa here? This is unbelievable, Amelia screamed, holding her head. I called them, I said calmly. Then Jacob and Amelia turned on me. Why did you call them? Not just our parents, but other relatives too. Yeah, Grandma and Grandpa have nothing to do with this. Both of them shouted and screamed loudly. Jacob and Amelia were oblivious to the gravity of their actions. I took out a document from an envelope and thrust it at them. Don't you understand? When you see this, you too are having an affair, aren't you? It was a report from a private investigator. For the past 2 weeks, I had them investigate Jacob and Amelia's affair. The results were damning with several incriminating photos. Recently, Jacob had been saying, "I won't come home tonight due to the night shift," but most of it was a lie. He had been repeatedly going on dates with Amelia. It was utterly infuriating reading the investigation report. Jacob and Amelia's faces turned pale. This is, Jacob stuttered, unable to come up with an excuse. His voice trembled slightly. Amelia was also pale. Why are there photos like this? She muttered. Then, in front of everyone, she began to tear the investigation results into pieces. Amelia, what are you doing? Amelia's mother desperately tried to stop her, but Amelia ignored her. After tearing up the papers completely, Amelia laughed. It's funny now. There's no evidence of the affair. Mia, you're so naive to give away important proof like that. Amelia, you're a genius. I said, it's too cocky, and that's why this happened. Reflect on it a bit, Jacob said, seemingly pleased. What a thing to do. Amelia's mother was in shock, but exposing them here wasn't the end. I needed to make one final move to make this the best anniversary for myself. I quietly told Jacob and Amelia's relatives Jacob and Amelia should be returning soon. Can you all please wait here with me? Everyone nodded silently to my request. After a while, I'm home. Looks like nobody's here, though. Hello, coming in. Jacob and Amelia returned home looking very cheerful. Jacob seemed to be in a good mood, possibly from drinking. Amelia seemed happy to be at the house, also in high spirits. Welcome back. I greeted them quietly. Instantly, Jacob and Amelia panicked. What? Why are you here, Mia? Weren't you supposed to be at your parents' house today? Jacob said, clearly bewildered. You're lying. That's just wrong as a person. Jacob started to confront me. Then my mother-in-law burst out of the living room, standing between me and Jacob. Jacob, you're having an affair with Amelia, and you canceled your anniversary with Mia. Shame on you. In the end, Jacob chose Amelia over his long-term partner, me. And Amelia, if you hadn't planned a dinner on our anniversary, none of this would have happened, I said, glancing at Amelia, who clenched her teeth in frustration. I continued, what were you thinking when you advised me? Did you think you had the upper hand? Well, now you're in a predicament, aren't you? I chuckled softly. Damn it! Amelia looked truly upset. She thought she was better than me, and yet she was outplayed. And while Jacob and Amelia were visibly frustrated, they suddenly noticed a certain person standing before them. Why is the nursing home director here? Jacob muttered. Amelia turned pale upon seeing the director. I answered with a smile, today's special guest. Not a relative, but in a way responsible for you too, right? That's why I secretly invited him. Huh? Jacob uttered in disbelief. Amelia was pale. Knowing Jacob's workplace, it was easy to find the contact details. I was unsure if the nursing home director would come, but upon explaining the situation, he'd immediately agreed, saying, "I'll be there." He felt a sense of responsibility as he had hired Amelia. Upon arriving, the director immediately apologized. "I'm sorry for the trouble caused to you," he apologized, "but it was Jacob and Amelia who were at fault." I reiterated this and asked the director for his help. He readily agreed to. Then the director began to speak calmly. "I'm disappointed in both Mr. Smith and Miss Wilson, especially Mr. Smith, who has a wife." He sighed deeply. "This is not an affair. This is not an affair. It's just a way for the staff to get to know each other," Jacob stuttered, trying to make an excuse. Amelia nodded desperately, in agreement. However, the director held a copy of the investigation report I had given him, leaving no room for escape. "You call this getting to know each other?" The director opened a page, revealing a photo of the two embracing. Ah! Jacob slumped to the ground, seemingly drained of strength. Amelia looked utterly hopeless. "Mr. Smith and Miss Wilson will be on suspension starting tomorrow. Prepare for further appropriate actions," the director firmly informed them. "No, please, director. I absolutely don't want to lose my job," Jacob pleaded, trying to cling to the director. "I don't want this either. I finally got employed. If I lose this job now, I'll be lost," Amelia said and cried bitterly. Despite the chaos, I turned to Jacob. "Jacob and I are getting divorced. Michael's custody will be mine, of course. You agree, right?" I said with a smile to Jacob. He had neglected his family to this extent, so surely Michael and I weren't needed anymore. But Jacob was unwilling to accept it. "We can't divorce in this situation. I might lose my job." And it was serious with Amelia, just a moment of madness. Jacob reacted strongly to his words. "Huh? Jacob, you said you would divorce Mia and marry me." I believed you. Shocked by Jacob's rejection, Amelia finally broke down into uncontrollable sobbing. Her mascara smudged, making her face a mess. Yet Amelia continued to cry, but there was no sympathy for Amelia. Her parents looked at her with cold eyes. Jacob, too, found himself without any allies. His parents and relatives were casting blameful glances at him. Jacob faltered under such circumstances, stammering, "No, this is." Watching Jacob's comical disarray inwardly amused me, and I said, "Since Jacob's affair is the cause of the divorce, I'll be claiming alimony and child support. And of course, I'll be demanding compensation from Aya as well." The mention of alimony elicited an exaggerated reaction from Jacob. "Alimony and child support with my meager salary. There's no way I can pay that." "Be reasonable." Even Amelia, who had been crying, glared at me and yelled, "Right, there's no way to pay with such a low income." "Do your research before you say such things." I couldn't help but laugh at their remarks, complaining about their low salaries in front of their employer. The director's popping was clearly upset. This would undoubtedly mean their dismissal. The relatives were also frowning. Severe consequences awaited the two. "In a way, this turned out to be the best anniversary," I said with a smile. Soon after my divorce with Jacob was finalized, he resisted a lot. But there was irrefutable evidence. He pleaded several times during our time at home, "Let's not divorce. Let's live as before," his face almost in tears. But neither I nor Michael had any intention of that. Michael declared to Jacob, "I'm disappointed in you. From now on, I'll live as if you don't exist." That must have been a shock to Jacob, and his parents also kept persuading him to let me go. Eventually, Jacob listlessly signed the divorce papers. Soon after the divorce was finalized, Michael and I were set to leave the house. Jacob resisted desperately. "Please don't go. I've lost my job, and I don't know what to do alone," he said, holding his head in despair. After that incident, Jacob and Amelia were quickly fired. Such an affair within the facility was unacceptable. The director had made a prompt decision. I addressed the despondent Jacob. "This is all your own doing. Anyway, you and I are now strangers. Just make sure you pay the alimony and child support," I informed him matter-of-factly. However, Jacob clung to me desperately. "I've been disowned by my parents. My relatives look at me coldly. I have no money, and there's no way I can afford alimony or child support," Jacob said, crying bitterly. For Jacob, who had always been at the center of attention, being alone must be difficult. But it's his own fault, and he needs to reflect and pay for his actions. Amelia managed to pay a standard amount of alimony, with her parents covering it. She's supposed to repay them now, though. Amelia hasn't been disowned by her parents and relatives, but she's facing a thorny path ahead. The affair scandal was quite disgraceful. She'll likely face comments from relatives at every turn. Amelia is now working day jobs to pay back the alimony her parents fronted. The work is tough, and at her age, she's bound to struggle for a while. After that, I returned to my parents' house with Michael. My parents were very worried, and I felt truly sorry. But I couldn't stay down. I immediately started job hunting. Finding a job as a former homemaker wasn't easy. I couldn't get past the document screening, and even when I finally got an interview, I didn't get the job. I cried over rejection letters. But after applying to dozens of companies, I finally got hired. The job was with a housekeeping service focusing on cooking dinner and cleaning. This was something I could do using my experience as a homemaker. My parents and Michael are supportive. There were many new things to get used to, but